Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews, and today we're back with another one of my essential film series, a series where I talk about movies that I highly recommend that don't really get talked about very much. They're not always, mainstream movies kind of like this, but I do think that they should be given at least a once over by everybody. But this one in particular is kind of a niche movie. Because we're talking about 2013's The Iceman, based on the true life of Richard Kuklinski, who was known as the Iceman killer, who killed presumably over 100 people. It kind of looks like he did. In fact, there was even this story that I read where he, after the fact, said that he was one of the people that was responsible for the Jimmy Hoffa disappearance. So that's pretty nuts. But it can't be substantiated now because Kuklinski died in 2006, and so there's really no proof. But it's one of those stories that's like an urban legend where you just kind of go, that makes sense. I could see this guy being a part of that. So this movie has a lot of standout performances. As a movie, it's a little uneven. It kind of feels like there's two movies going on. But first, let's get to the cast. So, of course, we have Michael Shannon, who I picked this movie mainly because I wanted to showcase Michael Shannon. The guy is such presumably, as in real life, whenever I've seen him do interviews and stuff, the rare times I actually do see him, he's a pretty mild guy, very average, just kind of soft-spoken type of guy. And he always plays kind of all over the place guys. He can play anything. But in this particular movie where he has to play this guy who's a serial killer and a hitman, mass murderer, who has no conscience except presumably a little bit for his family, this performance is so damn good. And people have done serial killer movies before and hitman movies. The characterization in this, while some of the historical inaccuracies are evident if you do a little research on it, they do boil down this character pretty well, and how he's capable of just snuffing people out with not even little, with just no effect on him whatsoever. This movie does try to humanize him a little, which I feel like, I guess if you wanted people to see this, you have to give him some sort of humanity. I kind of feel like they should have toned that down even more, but what are you going to do? It didn't do that well anyway, so I feel like if you're making a movie like this, you should go all the way. But we've got Ray Liotta, who's giving really one of his best performances I've ever seen since Goodfellas. And David Schwimmer is also part of that, and the guy who played Tony Soprano, Tony Soprano's best friend who runs the restaurant, I don't know why his name is escaping me right now. Their part of the movie feels like a second movie. They're the people that hire Kuklinski, Shannon's character, to be their hitman. And when they're on screen and they're talking about the things that they're doing, it feels like a separate movie. And I like what they're doing. I like those scenes, but I wish that had been in another movie, another story that maybe Kuklinski could have been in the background about. Because what Ray Liotta has given us, and Schwimmer, he doesn't have that many scenes, but Schwimmer, you almost don't recognize him. And if this was another movie with just some of these guys, it'd be really great. You also got the guy who played one of the FBI agents in Die Hard in here, in those scenes. They're really good. And I know that there are a ton of mafia movies out there, but I would have loved to have seen them do that movie separate. That being said, like I said, the performances are really good. Then you also got Chris Evans in this, who's having a ball playing this other hitman named Mr. Freezy, who is a hitman who drives an ice cream truck. This is 2013, so I guess he had been Captain America, and you can kind of see in a couple of scenes how ripped he is underneath his shirt. But he's having a blast playing this other hitman. And then you've got Winona Ryder, who plays Shannon's wife. You've got James Franco's in this for a minute. It's kind of surprising. So you got a pretty good cast going on here. But then again, still the standout is Michael Shannon, and them trying to show how this guy was able to spend all these years taking people out. There is scenes of violence in this movie, but they spend more time just on his character and showing like how he just doesn't give a shit about anything but his family. Now, given the historical inaccuracies a little bit about how he treated his family, his wife did not like this movie, even though she admits to when talking about how they met and how they became a family in the first place, it comes from violence. They don't show that here. They show the loving side of that. They don't show the cold-blooded killer who would threaten them, threaten the lives of, people around him. So they show it more as like a guy conflicted with trying to balance the one thing he supposedly cares about with just, doing what he's good at, which is just taking people out with no mercy whatsoever. And so it's by the numbers, and it's a true story, so you know where it goes. I mean, he gets arrested eventually, but it's kind of like how he, it kind of jumps through time, and how as the time goes by, he's trying to get out. Now, whether or not he was trying to get out in real life when he was caught, I don't know. There are some pretty historically accurate moments in this movie. And like I said, if this had been like an HBO like limited series, I mean, hell, if they're gonna give Sharp Objects 8 episodes and that had whatever, they could at least do one. They could have the potential to do movies like this about guys like this. That's saying that to glorify their job and their life, but if you want to do like an interesting character study of this guy, they should have given it more time than just an hour and 45. So when I say this is an essential film series movie, I really mean that this is an essential performance series movie, because the performances by all the actors in this are top notch. If the story had been a little bit more better directed, a little more focused, spent time on other things, and maybe tightened up gotten rid of some of the parts that were inaccurate just for the sake of making a few bucks that movie clearly didn't make, this would have been like a great movie. And there's not to say that this movie about, they couldn't make another Richard Kuklinski movie, but it's a shame that they've used Michael Shannon already in this one. Not to say that they couldn't make another movie and cast Michael Shannon, but they tend not to do that, where it's like, oh, we played him in this, and now we're going to have him be the same guy, but we're going to do a different movie version of the same thing. So they would probably recast. But he is perfect, because Michael Shannon has the size and the intimidation and the look of this guy who could just pull off deadly. There's a scene with him and James Franco in here that is just deadly. I love it. And it's from, I think, one of the interviews that they did with Kuklinski that they showed. I think it's on HBO too, which is another reason why I'm surprised they didn't make a series already about this, because the HBO documentary is unbelievable and scary just to listen to this guy talk. And I think that scene with Franco comes from one of the interviews that they did with him about a guy that he killed. So spoiler alert, it doesn't sound like Franco doesn't live through this movie. But like I said, from all the people that you don't expect in this movie, like Ray Liotta, I've seen him in a lot of things, but he's never really been, I don't know, like made me go, oh man, yeah, Ray Liotta. Not since like Narc or Goodfellas have I really been like, yeah, Ray Liotta's kicking ass. He's really good in this. And again, Schwimmer, out of nowhere, it does like I wish I could get more of that. And then Chris Evans playing off type as another hitman who is just as sick as Shannon, except, I don't know. I don't think he cares about anything in this movie. But again, so this is just a quick video. I really want to just, recommend this movie as far as performances. If you like movies about hitmen or serial killers and kind of like a true crime stories, if you're into that, this is up your alley. And again, with the cast and everything else. So anyway, I hope that this video kind of makes people want to see this movie. I hope that, again, this is a niche type movie. If you don't like movies about people that can do this kind of thing, don't watch this movie. But if you're fascinated by history and true crime and things like that, like I am, I highly recommend this movie. And again, this is easily one of Michael Shannon's best movies, best performances, and that's about it. So, this is Rob for Smirking Gun Review saying if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share, comment. I just said comment. Hit the bell for notifications of all the other videos we have up here. And that's it. Just a final note for anybody who watches my channel a lot. Some of the videos on shows like The Expanse, Mr. Robot, what else am I doing? I do so much. Oh, anyway, most of my regular videos is gonna kind of take a back seat this weekend to Ozark Season 2 and the Amazon series Jack Ryan with John Krasinski. We're gonna be plowing through those episodes and making videos for all of those. So anything that I usually review is gonna probably not be done until have more episodes up until next week. So anyway, again, this is Robert Smirking Interview saying we'll see you on the next video and have a great day. Bye.